And welcome back to Little Witchy Mischiefs. Now we're on the 4th map.
Oh my god.
It's called a map. Sorry, I can't read Japanese.
Map 4 in comic sense.
Again, it's because Japan does. Like, Japan loves to be very literal with their wording.
I wonder, Tio, is there a video game for Strike Witches?
Might. I haven't checked enough, to be honest, Joe. But I know the franchise only by name and aesthetic, but I never bothered to actually look into it.
Basically, for those wondering, Strike Witches is what if witches were involved with World War II?
And that animal ears.
And in order for them to fly, they had to not wear pants. It makes
Honestly,
sense in context.
Honestly, does it even matter? Aside from a texture change, it's not like any actual changes in the game occurred, do they?
Till the desert, though.
Okay, Dwibs, my hatred for sewer levels comes mostly just for, the involvement that it gives you. Like, this particular desert level, aside from changing layout, does nothing to impede your progress.
Oh, hello.
And who might you be?
Hey, there's... Oh,
There was
never mind.
something.
Oh no, she's surrounded by monsters.
Humanity.
The
Okay.
point is,
No, the monsters. Everyone, let's go and save her.
Okay then.
alright then.
In case you're wondering, that's Honey Kisaragi from Cutie Honey.
Mhm.
AKA, out of all the characters here, probably the most well-known one outside of Japan
And
and a
it's
few European countries.
And it's hilarious because, if I recall correctly, the manga did actually got printed here, but the anime was never localized in my country. This is actually the only one example where it was never.
That's ironic because she's probably the one we know the best.
It's also a damn shame because, like I mentioned, it's from one of the biggest.
From Go Nagai.
Yeah, one of the biggest names in the Japanese industry. Like,
So, I'm curious, like, well, is it because you started out with
What the hell
Aku?
is that?
Dwibs.
Yeah?
Is it because you started off with Akka that she's the one who says that? Or is this a case like where, say, you started off with a different character, like it would be a different character
Probably.
saying that? Or is
yeah,
it...
it will
And I'm
probably
guessing-
be something like that.
And I'm guessing it's probably going to be entirely different if you're playing as Cutie Honey. Yeah, basically, this
possibly.
part's pretty much a race to get there first.
Oh no, let me guess, if they get
Oh,
to
no.
her first, they brainwash her to their side.
No, a big healer, probably.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, otherwise she can't just transform right now.
Because it's not in the script for her to do that unless we get to her first.
Let's see, there you go.
I can only go so far forward at a time.
It's okay.
The original... Sorry, go on.
The bad guys don't seem to be that close to her yet.
The original anime series was from 1973 to 1974. It's 25 episodes, one standard season, but again, it's unedited. I think it was only localized in French, maybe? Let me check. French is... yes, it was actually localized in France for 1988. So I really don't get this. Why didn't we got this? Weird.
Was there problems with Italian standards and practices?
The premise by Cutie Honey is perfect. Should be perfectly fine even for the standards that we had. Like you said,
there we go. We saved her,
By getting close to her.
I guess.
Mhm.
Sure.
You okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who are you?
Looks like you're here for the same reason we are. You never answer that question, do you, Akko?
Well, I mean, it says I'm Akko right there.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't see that. I ignored the name part.
Yeah, I guess so. Could you guys help me out?
I don't know what
Yeah,
she sounds like
sure.
in English.
Just leave it to me.
Okay, she has an English voice, but I never heard it.
Like, really? Mario Party?
Yes.
Why not? We're on a board.
Yeah, to be fair, it's more fitting.
Yeah, this bit takes a while.
Sure, I'm perfectly fine with that, Dwibs.
This game has enough tonal dissonance as it is.
Okay, one thing I want to say is that I haven't gotten to yet is the music as a whole. Okay, the new music for this game. I think it's fine. I don't know if why aren't you transforming? But anyway, as I said in part 1, I don't know if it's Burke Treichsman or someone else. I've no idea, but it's fine. It fits the more jovial tone this game has.
So if I understand correctly, Cutie Honey has 2 playable forms, her human form and her transformed form.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. There was actually a sequel anime called Shin Cutie Honey, and this one actually arrived in my country, but there are like only 8 episodes, so okay, I guess it's nice. Then there's these another series from 1997 to 1998, if I recall correctly, called Cutie Honey Flash. So let me see if this actually arrived here. Yes, apparently it did. There we go. Actually, no. This one is is actually unedited too. Okay. Then there's a 2004 live action movie. Sorry, go on.
I'm surprised Hacker doesn't get a light head from flipping all that much.
There was a 2004 conjoined project of 1 live action movies and 3 OAVs. But again, these ones too are not localized. It seems that my country doesn't particularly care about this franchise, which is kind of a shame.
Maybe they liked Devil
I can tell you this, Dwibs, my country has almost like not a religious, but severe reverence when it comes to go on a guy and his stuff, particularly Devilman.
Maybe.
I guess which is kind of ironic.
I guess Italy just gravitates more to one franchise than the other.
Okay, Mazinger Z actually was the more popular stuff, but Devilman took over very easily, and these days, particularly with the Crybaby series on Netflix, also has found a new audience in the newer generations.
Wait. Is Devilman Crybaby connected to the original Devilman series?
No, it's a reimagining of the original series, reimagined in a modern context, essentially, because it includes stuff like smartphones and a modern setting in general.
Did they do one for Devil Lady as well?
The ending suggested that they might do one at some point, but I just say that the ending of Devilman Crybaby is kind of sad. I know that the franchise is no stranger of downer endings, but the ones of Crybaby kind of takes the cake, if you have to ask me. Still, it might be a possibility, Jova. Let's just say that. They left that door open.
Oh boy, a 16-year-old versus a tank. Who will win?
Well, compared to the other character, this one seems to be much more an adult.
Fight a metal tank with your bare hands.
If only you were transformed.
The characters of Virtual Fighter have to do that on a daily basis, Dwibs, against Val.
But she didn't transform, though, so...
I guess it can work if you're the Incredible Hulk.
But she's not the Incredible Hulk, at least.
Well, technically, also Spider-Man, even if he hates robots, he can actually take them down by punching them.
That is true. That is true. In the Spider-Man 2002 game, he takes on a giant Oscar-killing robot thing,
which he says, and I quote, "is as big as Long Island."
And now it's Sally's turn to fight the desert crab.
Not for nothing, Peter. Even though I've never been to it, I get the slight feeling that Long Island is a bit bigger than that one.
Just to be fair, he was doing it in his usual hyperbole sense, but that thing was pretty huge. Again, the stuff Oscorp was working on. Deadly toxins, super soldier serums, and a giant battle robot that probably could have taken over the world if not left unchecked.
Sally's Starshot is stronger.
Mm-hmm.
By using her imagination. Seriously. The hand gestures were all there for that.
Following up on Jova's point,
maybe that's what inspired that SpongeBob episode.
Following up on Jova's point from the previous part, I'm starting to kind of agree that, like, I feel like for a crossover with such beloved iconic anime characters, There's not that much interaction. There's not many cutscenes, is there?
I do.
We don't
get that
really quite know how the crossover crossed over either.
I do wonder if the reason is because they wanted to make it so that the story was fluid enough based off of which character you chose to start playing as. Whereas, you know, crossovers like Project Cross Zone, what they do is they start you off with set characters, and then little by little the party builds up.
The dialogue scenes are different depending on what character you start off as.
Oh, yes. I get that. What I mean is, like, my guess is that they made the story loose and fluid enough so that they wouldn't have to make too drastic a change each time. Like, I mean, obviously you got the whole, oh, my name is this and I'm here to help and whatnot. And I guess maybe they might change, like, who's stuck out here playable or whatnot, but otherwise my guess is that the format is still the same, as opposed to, you know, having to make any big, heavy changes. Like, again, if this were,
probably this.
If this were, say, on the level of Project Cross Zone, I can imagine they'd have to change a lot more based off of who you chose to start to play as, which
it's
is...
also, again, Drova, because the Namco the X crossover, let me just call it that for simplicity's sake, had more production behind them and a bigger story to boot. So even with the...
Carrying over from the Unholy War is the ability to use your player pieces on the field to take off bits of health or inflict other damaging effects on the enemy before you start the battle. Like in this case, the giant tank can blow me up even though it doesn't kill me.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying, Tia?
Basically, the point is that since they had more time and a bigger production value to boot, they were allowed to actually structure their pace better, because this kind of crossovers usually operates on that same kind of premise, that the first half is all about getting the party together. Like, all in the entirety of the first half, it's not like you have like a 6-hour range or something. And then in the second half, you basically consolidate that, and you have a bit more interaction and mix-ups until the point where you start chipping away the villains one by one.
But yeah, back to Pedro and Mines' point. Again, I'll just say this: I do wish there could have been more story, because I am genuinely interested to find out more about these characters. It's just like, well, it feels just like, oh, they're crossing over. Better hope you're a fan of all these. Like, I feel like a good crossover is one that can not only, you know, get you interested in characters, but can also work as a good introduction to them. You know, like, regardless of whether or not you're a super fan of one of them or not.
I will argue Professor Layton versus Ace Attorney did that well, in terms of actually giving Ace Attorney fans a basic gist of what Layton is about, and vice versa.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. I mean, despite what issues I may have with that game, it is definitely, for the most part, a good way to get, you know, fans of either series, or heck, someone who's a newbie to both of the series, you know.
I mean, I still do enjoy the game overall.
It's just the ending that's the problem.
It's just that game as well.
I think
that game as well, but I was mainly talking
about
this. But I was mainly talking about this game.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, and again, I'm not gonna act like this game is bad, but again, I'm willing to bet that the reason this may not be the best crossover was because, well, Toys for Bob had to work with franchises that they probably hadn't even heard of until the day that they signed on the dotted line. Like, again, I get what Bandai...
That's the changeover. They didn't know... That's the changeover. They signed the contract to make this game, not knowing what they were going to be making.
Wait. Oh my god. Don't tell me. They actually thought it was going to be Gundam when they signed the contract, didn't they?
Okay, what happened was... They went to... I think I said this earlier, but I'll explain it again. They went to Bandai saying, we got this game, can we make Gundam? Then Bandai said, oh yeah, we love this game, but we got a bigger IP for you. And then they signed the contract, not knowing what they were going to be making, and then later on, through the fax machine, they were getting pictures of Akko-chan.
I also get the idea that...
Okay, so my question of clarification, Dwibs, is like, well, did Toys for Bob know that they weren't making Gundam at that point, or did they only find out that they weren't making...
Yeah, by that point they knew they weren't making Gundam, but they still weren't expecting this.
Okay.
I also get the idea, again, that one reason why they signed up, because they thought that the work given to them would have been prestigious for their career, you know.
Oh, I mean, okay, you know, to be fair,
Damn, I just managed to beat the enemy right as the clock hit 0.
I will say this. Thankfully, it doesn't seem like this game was the end of their career. It's not this game is god-awful or anything, so, you know, despite all their hardships they had to work with, they still did manage to do good, it seems. That's
But again, Joba, remember...
The next game they did after this was 102 Dalmatians.
Yeah, I was about to mention, after this, remember, the stuff like the Unholy War and Pandemonium were original IPs that they made for IDOS. But basically, we're starting with these technically, but after this as well, they mostly focus on licensed games for a long while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I mean...
Well, that's the thing, Tio. This technically isn't this.
Toys.
Yeah, I was mentioning starting with this, but also after this. So I get the.
That's the thing that too. It's in terms of licensed games made by Toys for Bob. A lot of people would be thinking more of, say, Madagascar, or the Tony Hawk downhill jam game that they did. I don't think that many people were expecting this to be the start.
Well, fair,
that's because they literally
weren't
don't
even
know.
Aware of this one.
Yeah.
It was only... I can't remember when it... I actually wonder when word of this first hit the hit the West, because...
Again, I did mention
in some magazines you can find out what Japanese games were out at the time.
Again, before you actually did mention to us, I actually didn't know this. And normally I'd actually try to look at the history of a company or if it's tied to an anime that I know but the rest of the world doesn't. But this one was actually flew under my radar as well. Also, I get the idea that the slinky guy with the mullet is from Pandemonium as well.
Yeah, basically anything that looks a bit cartoony is from Pandemonium. Anyone that looks a bit more rough, for lack of a better word, is from Unholy War.
So there is literally no original enemy, just recycled assets from Toys for Bob's catalog.
Well, there is one, the final boss.
Okay, fair enough, because again, this is a crossover, so I get the idea that the villain attached to it, must be original.
Now this is the weirdest mini game of the bunch. You have to destroy the falling rocks while making sure you don't get hit by them, of course. Now you can either destroy them by using your magic spells, or punching them, or just running into them.
You can punch
so you don't really
boulders,
need to do it much then.
Yeah. This mini game could basically be
My work here is done.
Wait.
Basically.
So you can punch boulders, so this is where Resident Evil got it from.
And walk right into them, apparently.
Well, it seems she's only using a projectile, so she's not really punching them.
Well, Dwibs mentioned that you can apparently punch. Oh! She does have a
like that.
punching animation. There you go, Tio.
It seemed like she was still shooting something.
Well, limited animations and all that.
Well, really? I destroyed all those boulders. Poor Sally has a broken skull and she only gets 45 experience points.
Don't worry, she's fine. Look, her head's intact.
Yeah, that's another thing about this crossover. A lot of these IPs that they're using, a lot of them weren't really much to do with fighting evil. They were just like slice of life shows, especially Sally. Oh, but now we've got the environmental mission. This is evil sewage generator polluting the that little puddle there.
Where's Captain Planet when you need him?
He's taking a break. Maybe we should ask Planetina instead.
Meanwhile, you've got this little enemy that you can't kill, and who follows you, but you can stun him. But every time you hit the machine, it will create this giant force field that you can't get past.
Somebody was really determined to pollute today.
You can turn the screen if you want, because you have to press the L2 and R2 buttons, or the other shoulder buttons.
This is for pollution!
Yeah, I know. Again, imagine the poor souls at TF. One minute they were making this big lore about evil factions and monsters destroying each other. Now they're making a mini game about saving the world from pollution. Ow.
Ow.
Stop hitting me!
Oh wait, it's not the true Captain
There we
Planet
go.
experience if we aren't
I
also
did it.
talking about drugs and AIDS and sexual protection.
Sure.
Well, that's the thing, Dwibs. The Captain Planet show did go into places like
Well, I
that.
didn't really grow up with Captain Planet. When was the Captain Planet aired here in Britain?
Lucky
Anyway,
you.
yeah, London's mascot, whatever that is, has grown stronger.
Pretty sure that was London herself.
I get the idea it's referring to her attack power or something, but it's translated like that, and Google just decided to fart on that front.
But sure.
Either that, or she does have a or she does have a character.
She
like
does
the
have,
cat that
remember, we
Akko
did
has.
mention, like, if I recall correctly, it's either her or Akko, she has like a cat minion, so it might be that.
Maybe.
But Jova, what do you mean? Like, how would British kids learn about the HIV virus if they don't have Captain Planet?
They would just have to be part of the ignorant masses, I guess.
When it's the 80s, oppressive propaganda campaigns were all over the place anyway, no matter what, so maybe one of those weird commercials, I guess.
Captain Planet was the 90s, dear.
Even worse. This is your brain, now this is your brain on drugs.
Whatever. Those commercials were fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, fun, but, obnoxious nonetheless. Then you got the weird examples, like the arcade or Sega CD, full motion video games, like that one where you're fighting the space pirates, and it's the villain that is telling you do not do drugs at the beginning. Game, you're giving confusing messages right there.
Well, yeah, don't you see? It's a villain with standards.
Of course.
It's like how
So
Joker
everything
hates
else
Nazis.
they're doing so much better.
Like, again, it's clearly one thing that they didn't thought it through, and they were just like, just put the message right there.
There
Okay.
is one thing. Okay, this game. I'll show it off in a separate Raw when we beat the main story. But this game does have a multiplayer mode. But unfortunately, you can't play as the Unholy War characters. You have to. Use the anime characters against each other.
That makes sense, given how they're the main focus of the crossover.
Anyway, Jova,
Hey, you can't zap a cat, you monster! Die!
I also checked in the meantime, Java, and yes, the Strike Witches had like 5 video games. One for Nintendo DS, one for the PS2, one for the Xbox 360, was ported onto the PSP, another one for Nintendo DS, and a mobile one that was released last year.
Just
Oh,
how
well,
long has that
basically-
series been going?
So basically, now Akko can use the transform ability. Where basically, you select the power up, and then you select any one of the characters on the board. I'm not sure if that includes enemies. I haven't tried that. And you can take the shape and powers of that character that you picked.
To answer your question, Java, the original light novel was actually 1 year long, between 2005 and 2006. It was actually that short. But as a franchise, it eventually developed, and if I recall correctly, still going on this day.
So have you watched Road to Berlin?
No, again, I only know the franchise because a couple of my friends do know it, but I don't particularly care. Oh, Crest to Insanity music. Basically, Java, both that and Girls und Panzer are particularly beloved by a lot of people in my country, but I try to stay away from those.
Huh.
Alright, to be fair, I mean, Lulu rescuing cats and dogs, okay, fair enough.
Oh, you're
Well,
familiar with the
okay.
franchise?
I mean, flowers, but I think she might have had a pet. They just stay the fuck still.
Well, I get that, dude. I was just asking, are you familiar with the Lunlund franchise?
Again, I'm not really familiar with any of them, but I have heard bits and pieces about them.
Again, I did mention that...
Basically, what little I know about it is because of stuff I've either researched on Google, or of this series called Maho Profile on YouTube, from a user named Erin Cersei. Cersei, I think that's how you pronounce it. But basically, she did a series. It's on hiatus at the minute, but she got up to Cutie Honey and discovered quite a few of the characters here, including including Akko, Sally, and another one we're going to be meeting later on in the LP.
That's a nice touch.
I
But
see
again,
what you mean about
I
a lot of characters here being from slice of life ones, from what I've researched.
Well,
as
no,
Yeah,
it's
like I said, Sally's from a slice of life show. That wasn't really about fighting evil.
Though technically she is a little witch, so...
Yeah,
It
again,
was.
the core thing that connects all of this is the Mahou Shoujo. It's
And
just
they're
that
all made by Toei.
it's just that a couple of series instead are more prone to action, others not so much. But at the core, they still maintain the whole magical girl aspect.
That being said, I actually dig this idea of slice of life characters being put in a more serious environment as well. So
I'm pretty sure there are a couple of Doraemon games that do that.
It's sort of like how SpongeBob gets put into the more action-oriented Nickelodeon crossovers. So
Forget about SpongeBob, stuff like Rugrats, for example.
Now they gave the most.
The rhino that farts. Oh no.
Yeah, and he actually farts in this game.
Great.
Because
well-
kids game.
Well, Japan likes that farting humor and all that. Boop.
Yeah.
There he goes.
Imagine, I can just imagine the notes bad dialect. Excuse me, Mr. Reach and Mr. Ford. Yeah, that Rhino character in Unholy War that you had, can you make him fart?
Why do you want him
Congratulations,
to fart?
Akko, you exterminated an endangered species.
It was farting, though, Tio. Going off of Burger King commercials, that means that it was emitting gases into the atmosphere. Which is why it's good that Burger King helps get rid of cows that are generating too much with their farts.
The more you know.
Alright, so now we've gotten over. So now that I've gotten over the weirdest alteration to an unholy war enemy, join us at the next part where I don't know we'll probably have the Prada Devils' his cousin. I don't know, making farty noises with their armpits or something.
Jikai Majokko Daisakusen Little Witch in Mischief Part 4. See ya.
Sayonara!
Yeah.